Hello and welcome to Warblog. Today we're going to look at the battle for Severodonetsk. Yeah, that place. Just going to start. It's interesting because there's this big river going down here from bridges, and I wonder if I gave the Russians any engineers. Oh no, they've got some engineers there. I know that the Ukrainians have got engineers, so there it is really. I think in the first instance, the thing to sort of do, well, obviously get the drawing tool out because that's the best part of it. Oh, let's choose this colour, and I always like to be fair with the colours. You can tell it's slow because it didn't bother to do the curve, it's just a straight line. But so we've got this sort of bit here. Obviously that's not really much. Here and here. We've sort of got to get down to here, obviously, and into Severodonetsk, whatever you say. But the thing that I sort of considered, it's a bit of an artificial archetype, so to speak, in the sense that things starting on the edge of the board, they wouldn't necessarily all be within a linear rectangle of whatever. So, but it makes it a bit easier to consider. But the point is that you don't have everything on, so you've got to start using your air powered and whatever indirect fire you can muster to start clearing things. And obviously there's not a huge amount, so what you do is sort of up to you really. I mean, for example, you could try and take the rockets out down here because they're going to, they're on their own, but you might want to take out some more urgent objectives sort of here, or you might want to start peppering this stuff up. I don't know really. I've been looking at some forums on Windows in general and the evil of Microsoft, and apparently Windows 11 is even worse for a number of reasons, because it won't load certain things, and I really don't like it constantly updating, because I only ever turn this computer on to play this game, and it always frustrates me. I'm having a really good time, and then this, I don't want that anyway. So whirring away, probably downloading gigabytes of updates that I don't want. I wouldn't know. The little red thing down there is on for updates. Your device needs to restart to install important updates. Well, I'm not going to restart it. It's not going to happen. Right, so I'm just going to start playing and try and forget Microsoft. I'm sure if we put Microsoft into the equations, the Ukrainians and the Russians will both join sides to fight them. I mean, what a great way to bring peace. I don't know whether that's something that can get me banned. Who knows? Right, so I was thinking about what to do with all the air power. I think I might go for this, because it's a bit vulnerable near my engineers. He shouldn't be there on their own. So we'll try and take them out. Okay, so they're on 2.5, 2.1, touched yet. Yes, we can get there. Okay. So we'll put some rockets in there, pushing them up to 3.9, 5. Even these up a bit. Can we get anything else in there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can we get anything there? One move, 1.5. I can't make it. Okay, let's just see what we can do here. An exchange. Okay. Oh, they're only open. Oh, well, that's convenient. Is it worth exploiting? No, we can definitely push him back a bit. I don't think he's got indirect fire. He can fire over rivers. No. And here. All eliminated. Look at that. We can take this objective. Right, that's interesting. So what do the Ukrainians think of that? They've got drones. Obviously all this armoured stuff in there is not going to be that great, but this stuff might be better to take out, because no matter what, I'm not sure what the effect of drones will be on armour, but it might be nice to destroy something, bearing in mind the Russians are going to get a lot more coming on. Maybe I didn't give the Russians any air defence. Let's go back and do that. So that's a nice stack. I mean, it's the same as that, but it's got an extra unit in there, and they're in the open. So I never like to do all of it, so we'll do half, which is 4. So these are the videos that they'll be putting on YouTube or Twitter. Ukrainians use Spanish drone technology to take out evil Russians. Stupid Russians. Stupid Russians to park their tanks in the middle of a field, and then eight are dead. 4. See, if this is one of those clever games, there'd be lots of smoke coming out of there now. But it's not a clever game, it's a proper game. I've been reading about the Call of Duty thing, not that I would ever even play it, or have any even ability to play it, to be quite honest. When I look for these sorts of things, I tend to sort of Google something like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is shit. Something like that. If someone's written that as a title in some article or something, it sometimes comes up, and it did. And apparently no one really knows, but there's been some sort of insider information that it's not very good. I can't remember why, actually. Really can't. Apparently it's something like that. Anyway, so that's that. What else could we sort of hit? Well, I suppose we should do that, or we should take a tentative track at that. I think this would be, because they're so far forward, you sort of can't let them stay there. But he got 0.6. How much damage did he actually take? 0.6. So the drone seemed to be full effect. So okay, so that's not too bad. I mean, it wasn't brilliant, but it's interesting how the damage does actually sort of mount up and take effect. Putting themselves so far forward, they've given themselves a bit of a handicap, really, because there's probably quite a lot of rocket power that can and is very... Do we want to use it all on that, though? I mean, if there's that much, surely some of it can go over here. It is sort of tempting, though, to just fire it all on that, just because it's an opportunity and it's just a game. I'll only do half of it, which is another generous 4. Some of it might not be able to reach anything else, though. 2.5. You see, I only got half of that. or even not even half of that. It got a quarter of that. See, that's the thing. The rockets are not going to damage these units. Let's see what I get this time. So he's on 1.6 and he's on 1.2. So he should have gone up 1, but he only went. So he's only getting 10% of the damage. So the armor is just not being affected by rockets. And I can't remember what he was on. It's not worth going against these with the rockets. So we can bring to bear on this. Soft skin targets. .8. We can bring over here. It's going to be quite important to take out all these rockets. I mean, it's almost completely wiped out the first wave of Russian hardware. Got rockets here. Try and take out these soft skin targets. I'll leave him there, I'll leave them there. I'll leave everything else as it is because I'm just playing and I don't want to spend too long doing things. Just for sake of brevity, because I'm probably not going to do too many more turns. So I just rush on to the Russian turn. So obviously we get some more stuff here. But I don't really get much, to be quite honest. Now we're holding out over here. Recovery rates are better. So we might be able to recover a few of these, but I think we've got to seriously consider taking out as many rockets. There's some forward rocket positions there. There's 2 rocket positions there. There's 1 there. We've got 2 rockets there. They seem to be doubled up, and maybe we should have done something about that. But I think let's try and take these ones out. Let's put 2 on that. Oh, 6. And let's put 2 on that. Okay. Some rockets. We should get rid of their rockets at least. Yeah, they routed. One of them routed. They're going to try and recover. They're in a difficult position, really. These should really be recovering. We really should be trying to take that stack out. 8 range. I should have moved things around for the Ukrainians. So we looted taking those rockets out. Let's pound these. All of that was insane. One to one, we've got the worst dive, so it wasn't that bad, but I think the Russians don't have enough. Because they don't have much more coming on. Okay. Well, we did a lot of damage there last time, so let's put another 3 on that. Is it worth? Yeah, we do really want to take these rockets out. Got it. And this stack here is going to be worth concentrating on, because we know it's damaged. Oh, lost the drone. No damage, but they had to do a morale check. And routed, so there's only engineers left in that stack. And now I've got rockets, but we can't do much against this stack here. It seems relatively immovable, but can we? 3.8. Shouldn't have moved in that last one. Let's just fire all our rockets on it. Four. So he'll be doing morale checks now. So he's now at 6.5. He's still at 0.98. Fired through all this woodland. And rockets. Right, let's see what we can do against this stack here. And here. Well, we've got quite interesting, really. Can attack that. So let's fire the rockets into there. One unit. We can certainly attack that. Probably only be. Oh, we've got more rockets, so let's just use them. Why not? Soft skin. And do an irregular attack on that. 1-to-1 and a DR, and they routed. They're too big to attack. We'll do one more turn. The Russians haven't got any air defense, so that's just because I've not put it on, so I'll have to put that in. Oh look, some Russians have appeared there. They couldn't have been there before, they must have just appeared, so that will have to be sorted out. Right. What do the Russians want to do? Well, some units behind the scene, so let's attack these rockets. It was an entirely legitimate target. Oh, look at that. The joy. Well, we'll leave those to recover for what it's worth. try and blow these rockets up. We might go for these. Let's put 3 against this. And 2 against this. Oh, look, we're spoiled for choice. Oh, they are really tough in the woods. They were routed at last. We threw everything against them. That's what it took. I don't think we can do that. Unless we can get the armoured unit in there. Give it a go. It's interesting though. It's an interesting assault because it's not unreasonable to imagine that a Russian armoured company or element, let's be flexible about things, and a mechanised element going up against irregulars in urban built-up area, presumably, although they're not an anti-tank unit with a lot of anti-tank equipment, would repulse them. You know, they only probably were firing defensively with some fairly significant weapons, took out 3 or 4 tanks, and they were repulsed. So it's not actually, it was 1-to-1, and that's the difference with irregulars entrenched in these places. Now, I sort of going to leave it at that, or at least I'm going to get onto my sort of analysis, because I wanted to sort of get onto that. A few things. Firstly, there's a lot happening. You can only afford to spread your resources, the air units, as we did. So over here, and in here. And it took a lot of effort to just take out this one unit. So you've got to decide what you do. We could have used it on here. These are fresh rockets, but we didn't. We used it here and we used it over here. But also, there's a lot of space and a lot of terrain to take up even before you get to Severodonetsk. So I think the Russians are really going to have a lot more stuff, because they only really get about sort of 2 or 3 more turns of that sort of level of reinforcements, and they've lost a lot in those first few turns. And I think you know, really it's a sort of 10-to-1 odds in favour of the Russians, so it's not really going to reflect what's happening, but it still reflects the difficulty, no matter how you look at it. You know, in these instances where, you know, we've got this unit in the wood and it's repulsed 2 rounds of attack against it. I mean, we can go for another round, I guess, but there's not a lot of point. We're starting to get some engineers on, a few more units down here. You know, this is going to become overwhelmed. But the real, you know, we're not going to get to the real nitty-gritty. We managed to get forward through here. This was an interesting situation, mainly because it didn't sort of protect it in the setup. But nevertheless, you know, it could equally be well considered something that could happen, that the road was open and an advance was afforded, you know, because of that. I mean, could that happen? I don't know. I mean, I think because of the thing is, you've got paradoxes here really, because it's sort of trench warfare and very slow and bitty, but it's not dense. You know, you could very well have something that really only has 2 or 3 people standing in the way, but they don't really know that. You know, every time you see a picture of something, there's not a lot there. And you sort of half expect the Russians to sort of carry out some sort of, you know, great maneuver warfare type initiative, and we're not really seeing any of that. Maybe it's just because, you know, the propaganda and you know, disinformation and stuff like that. But I don't know. I mean, I think what we're seeing, obviously, is modern warfare in its fullest sort of extent. You know, for as modern. I mean, it's modern. You know, we've got serious modern equipment, drones, and you know, we had Panzer Force in the Second World War, but I don't think it was that effective. But we got, you know, serious anti-tank weapons. And obviously serious precision guided missiles. We don't have much of that in here. But it still seems to be. I haven't really looked at a lot of the videos and things, but it still seems to me that, you know, that it's a lot of house to house sort of clearance, a bit like sort of Raqqa and Mosul, you know, and they're just going from one building to another, and it's very slow. I just wish I had more time to sort of keep up with all of the things that are happening, as opposed to just sort of like just feeling lucky with getting just something, because I'm really busy and I'm off tomorrow for 4 days solid, and I'm trying to relax before I go away, and so this is what I'm doing. Sort of taking it easy with writing a game and making a game. But you know, so I'm a bit sort of behind on things, really. I did do an oil painting. I started to do oil painting. I did one on a bit of cardboard. It took me about 20 minutes it's of a picture of like a tank or something. Well, it's not a tank, it's an 8-piece. It's just a sort of like an 8-wheeler truck with a 20mm cannon on it or something. An 8-wheeler APC with a 20mm cannon or something like that, set amongst some sort of buildings. And it was nothing in particular, I just got it off Al Jazeera. It's the first image I saw. I thought, oh, I'll paint it, because I don't like to say, I want to find something good. I'll paint the mundane. But so I might somehow put those on my blog or something, on my Facebook page or something. But it's not very good. But and it's black and white. I only bought black and white ink because I'm cheap. But I think it'll add a little sort of kudos to it in its own right. And I don't have any other stuff, so there's a lot of brown in there because that's the cardboard beneath. I haven't got any thinners, so but that's my first one. I just pulled, as soon as I got them out of the post, I opened the oils up and did something. It's only about sort of 10 inches by 6 inches or something, so it's not a big canvas or cardboard. But yeah, so there's a lot more happening, and hopefully I'll maybe keep it up to speed. I was reading something just the other day about don't forget us. It's like, I think that there's a lot of sort of apathy, and you know, now it's a war and it's very much in the background, or it's not so much in the forefront. I mean, people are sort of, you know, referring to the war as though it's some sort of something that's just happening, you know, elsewhere. And a bit like anything else, I think it's faded from a lot of people's primary consciousness, and it sort of, it was a bit interesting really, because even if I'm a bit lackluster, at least I'll have the long haul in it. I'm in 100 days plus now, so hopefully I'll be able to get a bit more up to speed in some sort of weeks to come, so to speak. But it's definitely interesting. I mean, it's definitely sort of like a good example of modern war. It just sort of, I don't know, I was expecting something more, you know, something sort of impressive, some sort of like, you know, lots of dynamics, and it could be over quite quickly, and not to be just, I mean, the thing is, they say, oh, well, you know, there's always been this sort of, the Third World War, you know, the Soviets will be through the something gap and through to Berlin within 6 days or something. And I think that this has demonstrated that there's going to be no such thing as a sort of a rapid advance on Paris. And I just wonder how the Americans would do it. I always wondered how the Americans might command, sort of troops in the Middle East. But I mean, if they were to do a counterattack, I mean, would they be able to sort of do these impressive sort of sweeps and breakthroughs and, or is that just myths? I mean, it seems that the Second World War was far more dynamic. I'm not a fan of the Second World War, mainly because it's so overdone. Everyone knows so much more than me. I just can't be bothered to be sort of always behind the curve on that. I'd rather deal with something that no one else is bothered with, and at least sort of like feel as though I'm getting somewhere with my understanding. But in the Second World War, I'm pretty sure that, we had things like a bridge too far, and that was dynamic, mobile warfare. Market garden, and you might have thought that the Russians would have done something. The Odessa, you might have thought that they would have actually taken it with some clever maneuver that we couldn't imagine. But I don't, it seems as though they don't have that capacity, and I don't know why. I was expecting more from the Russians in the ingenuity department, and but that's that really. I can't see the Ukrainians doing anything other than being whittled away, but it does make you wonder whether or not, if there is the scope for I don't know if there's another unit that's sort of completely in the wrong place. I think actually what I did was put all the units in the wrong place. Okay, but I think what I was just getting to there, and I'll leave it at that, is that it'd be interesting to see whether the Ukrainians can actually make any interesting counterattacks, not just little tactical ones, but it's sort of something that would cut off huge amounts of the Russian effort. I mean, when they marched on Kiev, they had a lot more opportunity for all of that, and I think that's why they retreated and withdrew, to protect their sort of, their advanced positions and supply lines, etc. I mean, the war opened up with a tremendous amount of sort of geographic flexibility from the point of view of the northern assault. And then that sort of got all lost and bogged down with tremendous losses, and so it's quite interesting, but at the same time quite disappointing. But I don't think you're allowed to say that on Twitter. I think you've just got to think of the elderly people and the children and the unicorns. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. I will update the map to sort of reflect some of the sort of things that I've detailed. The Russian air defence, give them a bit more units. I give them some drones as well, so they've got more air power to start picking things off, especially at the start, etc., etc. And obviously move these units, which I think are all in a completely wrong position. Wouldn't surprise me if there's a few more of these things hanging around. Anyway, I'll leave it at that, and I'll speak to you later. Cheerio.